Welcome to episode 25 of Blackhawks Banter, our weekly venting session about all things Chicago Blackhawks. We are brought to you by the Hockey Writers, and you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and of course, check out all of our awesome content at thehockeywriters.com. So be sure to like, subscribe, follow, click, everything that you can do to not miss a thing. We're here tonight with our usual crew. We have Brooke LoFurno, Shaun Filippelli, Greg Boysen, and I am Gail Kauchak. Hello, boys and girls. How's it going?
Doing well.
Going good, Gail.
All right. So the latest update that we do have, as you all probably have heard now, on Monday, Andrew Shaw unfortunately decided to hang up his skates. Two-time Stanley Cup winner with the Chicago Blackhawks, 10-year awesome career, but unfortunately he concussion protocol and had to cut things short with his concussion history. So we are definitely going to pay some tribute to him at the end of our show tonight. I think that would be fitting to kind of end that way. So stay tuned for that. And then let's get back to, kind of the current situation here. We don't really have an exciting playoff push to talk about. I think that kind of got put to bed with the Nashville Predators series. Unfortunately, they lost on this past Monday, 5-2. And then the Blackhawks did manage a win, an overtime win, 5-4, woohoo, on Wednesday, but then lost again on Friday, 3-1. So that one overtime win was the only win that the Blackhawks have had against the Predators in 8 games this season. And needless to say, that puts them in 6th place in the Discover Central Division. They're behind the Predators and the Dallas Stars. So before we get into the meat of things, one more quick update. Also on Sunday, defenseman Riley Stillman signed a 3-year contract extension with the Chicago Blackhawks, $1.35 million cap hit. So as we go along here, I'm sure we'll have a little bit of discussion about Stillman. I know I have a few things to say about him. So first off, as we get going here, let's get to our star of the week, which the assignment was with Shaun this week. So Shaun, if you want to go ahead and tell us who your star of the week is and why.
Absolutely. You hit a couple of major points on the head there, Gail. Obviously, not a very easy task to find a star of the week through a week that the Blackhawks really needed every single point they could have possibly mustered up. So the fact that they went 1-2-0 against this Predators team, and who've clearly had their number all season long, was not an easy thing to reflect on. However, again, another point you brought up, it's hard to not look straight to that win and take a look and see what helped them through that win. And the one main reason was Brandon Hagel. This guy was having a quiet two-assist game going into overtime, but then capped things off with a highlight reel overtime goal. So not only was it a good game just for what it was in a hockey sense, but it was obviously a necessary win because it still meant they were that much closer at that point. It was their first win against the Predators of the season. Hagel had obviously an impressive 3-point game, which, that three-goal comeback in itself was impressive. But the fact that Hagel was such a big part of making sure that they capped it off as a rookie was something that you have to give recognition for. And he actually becomes only the second Blackhawk rookie to have multiple overtime game-winning goals as in their rookie season. So impressive all around. And the fact that he did it all in one game definitely deserves some highlight. I mean, it would have been nice to see that production throughout the week, but he didn't even play on Monday. So he did all of that in one night, and he gets my nod for star of the week.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I read your article that he was the second rookie to do that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, this next topic is probably one of my favorites. Brooke would call it our therapy session. As you know, we just discussed that we had a pretty frustrating series with the Predators. So what I'd like to do is talk about Jeremy Colliton and his coaching decisions. I feel like he made some questionable decisions in the series. So let's all go ahead and grade him on this series, and of course talk about why you gave him that grade. And we will start with Brooke. Therapy.
So I guess for grades, I would give a D. Now, like I said before, I don't dislike Colliton, but something that keeps rubbing me the wrong way is about how we're never prepared to play important games. We're always very lackadaisical. We seem like we suddenly forget how to play hockey, and it's just not good enough. And I feel like during the last game against the Predators, we actually started pushing 5 minutes before the game was supposed to end. And I was like, okay, where was that effort the whole entire game? So it's like sometimes they could come out and their effort is like through the roof, like the game before where they came back to win 5-4, and then other times it's just awful. And I think the fact that the team was not prepared is an indictment on him and the effort level. So I'm going to grade him a D because that was just honestly not fun to watch.
Okay, a D. How about you, Craig? What would you grade and why?
I'd probably go with the D or less there. Listen, the Predators, when they pulled up to the United Center this week, they should have parked in Rocky Wirtz's parking spots because they own this team right now. 1-7 should have been 0-8. I mean, the Predators' epic choke job in the overtime win. You go 1-7 in a season against a team that you have to look at the coaching staff and why that is. That's unacceptable. It's one thing if you're losing 7 or 8 games to a Tampa Bay Lightning or Vegas Golden Knights, one of the elite teams where the talent gap is huge, but the Predators and the Blackhawks are pretty evenly matched teams. You guys have been telling me for the last 2 months they stink. Well, if they stink, how come Jeremy Colliton can't figure out a way to beat this stinky team, allegedly? So this series was just a microcosm, a quick synopsis of his entire 3-year run here. The excuses are over. All right, first season, he's replacing a legend, inexperienced, fine. Second season, shortened, weird COVID season, fine. We're essentially 3 seasons in, and we're seeing the same things over and over again. This team can't play 60 minutes. They have this huge comeback. You know, this is the 3 biggest games of the season, and they look flat 90% of the time. You take out that last 10 minutes of the third period, they were horrible that game for much of Wednesday night. Friday, they started off pretty good until they gave up that first goal. And then, I mean, even their own players have called themselves fragile this season. That's on the coaching staff. He's too analytical. He leaves on the numbers, and there's a place for metrics and all that stuff. But sometimes it's just all he does is play the numbers game, where he doesn't have that feel for the game. He doesn't have that gut feeling. We heard Q talk about it all the time. Rocky Thompson, who used to coach the Chicago Wolves, who's now assistant with San Jose, he always talk about, I had a hunch or I had a gut feeling, and you just go with something that maybe just seems out of the norm just because you have a feeling. Sometimes it doesn't pay off. Sometimes it does. He doesn't have that. He's got to pull out his calculator and figure out what the numbers tell him to do. And that's just frustrating. And if I never see a 7 defenseman, 11 forward lineup again, it will be too soon. Enough of that. It doesn't work. It's dumb. I did a quick research on that. They've done it 9 times this season. They are 3-6 in games he starts 7 defensemen and been outscored 29-23. Enough. Done. Get rid of it. Stop. You're not smarter. He thinks he's smarter than everybody else in the room. You're not. He's in over his head. Keep him here for the contract while we're rebuilding, but when we're good enough to actually start contending, hit the bricks, calculator boy.
All right. Well, I'm going to go
better.
ahead.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm going to go ahead and obviously we know the 7 defensemen was one of mine as well, Greg, but you pretty much covered that. So, yeah, no 7 defensemen, forget it. Scratching Dylan Strome. Why are we scratching Dylan Strome? These are 2 of your most important games of the season. I don't get it. He's not being utilized correctly. He's playing on the 3rd line. He should be playing center. You know, even if you're going to scratch him one game, scratch somebody else the other game. I don't get that. I don't understand why he hasn't put Kane and DeBrincat back together. You know, they were hot and now they're slumping and they're losing. So put your nuclear option back together. And finally, I don't understand why, you know, again, the most important game of your season, and he puts Malcolm Subban in there. You've established yourself. You've established Kevin Lincoln as your number 1 netminder. Why is he not playing in the most important game of the year? So I'm supposed to be the one that's positive and always, you know, talking about Colliton, but I give him a D+ for my grade. So we've all, yeah. Shaun, do you have anything else? Can you give him a C? Give him an A?
No, I'm not going to be that polite of a Canadian. I'll stick with the theme here. I'll give him a D+ as well. You guys have said every reason. You've named them all off, so I won't repeat what you've already said because I agree with it all. The only thing I will say is this. obviously it's his job to amp up his team and get them ready to go and get them energized. But the reality is these are still athletes that need to get out there, get the job done. So while the energy level does start from the top, it's still on the players. We still have to look at them and say that, they ultimately have been the ones out there not getting the job done when they've had opportunity on the ice. So I think we need to at least take a little bit of blame off his shoulders and recognize that these athletes aren't pulling their weight either. So that's all I'll say about that.
One final thought. It's the coach's job to put his players in positions to succeed, and he did not do that in the most important series of the season, and can't have that. Definitely. Yes, the players do have to still perform, but if they're not put in the right positions, I don't know what you expect.
What? You're not wrong, but at the same time, these, again, they're still out there, right? Kane has looked like he's had a lack of energy here and there throughout the week, and that's the guy that needs to be out there scoring the most goals. So, again, I don't disagree with any of the setup and it being wrong, for lack of better putting it, but these players still did need to do more than they did. However, that's why he's getting a D+ at best, because, again, it's still on him to set the tone.
Greg, I don't remember. What was your grade? Did you give a grade?
Yeah, I gave him a D, maybe.
That's right. Okay.
Maybe a D-.
D+. Okay.
Yeah, not good marks.
Not good.
He'd be repeating freshman year if he was back in high school right now.
Okay, let's move on. Shaun, you brought up Patrick Kane. So you've got your veteran leader, superstar Patrick Kane, the one that's kind of supposed to be pulling these guys through. He's had a lot of trouble finding the back of the net lately. To put it in perspective, in January, he scored 4 goals, February, 7 times, but in March, only 2 goals, and in April, only 2 goals. So to what do you attribute Kane's goal scoring slump? And let's start with Greg.
This one will be a lot quicker than the last answer. We've seen it sometimes. It happens. Goal scorers can't get the puck in the net for whatever reason. Look at the Brinkett last year and compare it to this year. In that same time frame since March 1st, while I'm not completely worried and thinking that his career is over, is in that same span, he still has 20 assists in his last 25 games. So he's still driving the offense. He's still getting points and setting up goals. He's just not scoring them. Maybe it's got to do with playing it with different lines and not having his buddy DeBrincat with him. But he's still getting the points. But with that being said, biggest series of the year, you watch your supposed Hart Trophy candidate to show up and score a goal, and he didn't. So, he's another one that, he's very disappointed right now.
Okay, Brooke, what do you think?
I attribute it to the supporting cast. It's not like he's being surrounded by Artemi Panarin's or Jonathan Taze's this year. And something that I've kind of always thought of is Kane, whenever he sets someone up, he sets them up perfectly. The puck is always on their stick. It's right there all the time. When he gets passes from people, it's usually behind them or way out there, and it never kind of works out that way. And so when Vinny had that perfect pass to him against Detroit, it was like, oh my gosh, he finally got a good pass. But so I think, the supporting cast, I think, has a lot to do with it. And also, I think there might be a lack of incentive there. I mean, I think he knows that deep down, this team is not going anywhere. And this has been a huge weight on his shoulders to carry this team if they're going to be successful. So he doesn't really have anyone, and he's kind of on his own. So I do think it's a supporting cast issue, and it might be an incentive issue too.
That's a good point. Do you agree with that, Shaun?
Those are great points. Absolutely. For me, I'm going to name sort of an obvious observation, but it's definitely one that I think we need to highlight here, where as much as Kane is there to lead and he should be the one leading the production, when the team around him is faltering, it seems that his production takes a hit as well. The Hawks are 9-4-2 in Kane scores. And you mentioned, Gail, his best month has been February. They went 9-3-1 that month. And that's obviously not a coincidence. So as much as they rely on him, I think he's relying on the rest of his teammates to sort of step up and do their part to get the results out there, similar to Brooke's point as far as his supporting cast, where when they're struggling, it seems his numbers are too. So to me, it just looks like there's a direct alignment between the team and Kane. And when he's doing well, the team's doing well. When he's not, they're not. And I know Greg mentioned the assists are getting points on the board, and that's absolutely true. But again, as their veteran leader here, he needs to be putting more in the back of the net. So when he hasn't been, the team has struggled. And when the team has struggled, he hasn't been. It sort of works both ways. The other thing, I know he only has a handful of power play goals, but the reality is, I mean, he's going to be out there for every power play. And with their power play in decline, that's going to mean less opportunities for him.
Okay. Well, really, the only thing I have to add to this, you mentioned the assists. I think that he has become a little bit more of a decoy this year. So we got that. He's been a little bit more this year. But then again, he should be able to finish. So hopefully he'll come around. It sure would be nice to see him go on a little bit of run here for the last 8 games. And I also am going to pound it in one more time. I think that if he was put back together with Springcat, then that would give them a little bit of an oomph. And I think, even if you're trying to balance the lines, whatever, it doesn't matter anymore. We've only got 8 games left of the season. Put them together, let them go on a bit of a run, see what some of your other guys can do on the lower lines, give Kubalik more time. I could go on and on, but anyhow. So Kane, hopefully he'll turn things around. We're about halfway through the show, so I just want to remind you that you can find us at the Hockey Writers YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, hockeywriters.com. That's one of our latest articles that we actually did was a preview post for this show, and we talked about this next topic on there as well. The improved penalty kill. So this is actually a positive that we have going in amongst a lot of negatives. In the last 7 games, the Blackhawks have gone 17 for 17 on the penalty kill, which they've turned around, and that's really nice to see. So let's discuss the importance of the penalty kill and what you've liked about it in this last stretch of games. We'll go ahead and start with Brooke.
It's so important because especially right now when our power play is struggling, we need something on our special teams to help us win games, and that certainly helps. But also, I think the thing that I've noticed is they've been a lot more aggressive. Before, they kind of just stood there, and just seemed like they were just waiting for time to just pass, and that obviously hasn't worked. But now they're actually skating up to players, confronting people with the puck, and it forces them to kind of panic a little bit and get them all discombobulated. So I think the fact that they're being more aggressive has helped tremendously. Instead, it works a lot better than just standing there and hoping for the best.
Okay. How about you? What do you think, Shaun?
Yeah, obviously penalty kill success is crucial. This Blackhawks team has been at the bottom of the league in that stat essentially all season long. So this last little run has been nice and refreshing to see, just to see improvement in that area. And you call it aggressiveness, but I'll even flip it and say confidence. I mean, they can go hand in hand, but that's what I attribute it to. So I'll sort of align with what Brooke is saying, just as far as seeing them play a more structured and a more confident game when they're man down. They're not as afraid as they once looked. They're not as sheepish. At the same time, they're also getting some timely saves, which I know we can't necessarily predict all the time. So it's been an unconventional combination, but it's been working. Obviously early in the season, this team could rely on areas of the game that were compensating like their power play. Well, they can't anymore. So the fact that the penalty kill has stepped up is crucial, even though it might be too little too late down the stretch here, but still nice to see as an improvement going into next year.
It's absolutely nice to see something positive for sure. Greg, what can you add about the penalty kill?
Oh, I've always said when asked what would I rather have on my team, a shutdown penalty kill or a deadly power play, I would always choose the shutdown penalty kill. I think having a good penalty kill is better than having an elite power play, just for many reasons. Obviously, not allowing the goals is important. It takes pressure off everybody else, but it allows you, when you know your penalty kill is good, it allows you to play more aggressively at 5-on-5, because now you can maybe not so worried about taking a penalty because crap, the PK has got to go out there, we're going to give up a goal, so I can't pressure this guy, or I can't go in for a hit. And then when you start thinking about too much on the ice, bad things usually happen. And then plus there's a lot to be said about the momentum shifts that happen after a big penalty kill. We see it all the time. A team kills off a penalty and all of a sudden they got some jump in their step, and 2-3 shifts later they've scored. So it's good to see. As both Brooke and Shaun mentioned, there's many reasons why this is happening, and some of it is just luck. That's the same thing with the power play. The goaltender is your best penalty killer at all times. He's still got to come up with the big saves, and Lincoln and Subban both have done that shorthanded recently, but they are playing more aggressive, more confident, and all that. It's good to see. Hopefully they could carry it up, get some of these younger guys on there, get some of that experience and that confidence, and roll it over into next season.
Okay, I'm just going to add a few names in here. I'd like to recognize, kudos to Duncan Keith, Connor Murphy, David Camp, Ryan Carpenter, Calvin DeHaan, Nikita Zadorov. They're the workhorses on the penalty kill all season long. We're always talking about who's on the power play and what the units are, but a lot of times you kind of don't really know who's on the penalty kill. So I'd like to recognize them. And I'd also like to, recognize a few of the newcomers. As I mentioned earlier, we've got Riley Stillman, who recently came over from the Florida Panthers. So as a defenseman, he's stepped in, and I think that he's really kind of taken some of the pressure off the regulars. So another person in there. And then you also have the additions of Alex DeBrincat and Kirby Dock on the penalty kill recently, which at first when I saw that, I wasn't too sure about that, but what the heck, if the defensemen are tasked with helping out on the offense, why not have it be the other way around? So I really do think that those other three players that have kind of been added into the mix have kind of breathed some new life into the penalty kill and, even kind of further brought the team together. So it's something good to see and something nice to talk about besides all the negatives. So speaking of which, let's talk about our expectations for the final games. 8 games left, 6th place in the Central Division. I think it's pretty safe to say that our playoffs hopes are a stretch at best. But this gives us an opportunity to take a step back and to kind of look at the season and the rest of the season in a different light. So with the pressure off, what would you do in this last handful of games if you were the coach? Shaun, go ahead.
Yeah, just a handful of quick snippets here. For me, now's no better time than the present. Get Delia in there. I mean, we've been saying that for the past few weeks. Just let him have some more games at this level. See what he can do. Keep him fresh and just see what you got there. On that note, give as many opportunities as you can to as many youth as you can. Let them have even more of a chance to further develop in these opportunities that they might not have otherwise had if this was a different scenario in the stretch here. And at the same time, this team, as we know they always do, and one of the reasons I love the most, still battle to play spoiler. So however and wherever they can do that, get out there, play with that passion, play with that grit, try to win games, and just compete. As long as they're competing and they're doing things the right way and they're progressing, that's what we've said all year long. That's what we want to see out of this team. So if they can finish the season off that way, then there's still success to be had.
That's a very good point. We're very well said. How about you, Greg? What would you do?
I would try and get the guys in the positions you want to see them going forward. Play Dylan Strome at center. That's what you signed him for. That's what you need him for. Play him there. Enough of the scratches and playing at the wing. If he's losing faceoffs, he's never going to get any better by not taking faceoffs. Play him. Put these younger guys that have been on this team all year, put them in bigger roles, bigger situations. Put some on the penalty kill. Let Adam Boquist quarterback the top power play unit. Let Ian Mitchell and Kalnuk play on the second power play unit. We don't need Duncan Keith on the power play anymore. That ship sailed years ago. Give him his break. We don't need to see it anymore. When this team is good again, Duncan Keith is not going to be a major part of it. Maybe bring up some guys from Rockford who's been warriors down there this season. Guys like Mackenzie Entwistle, Evan Barrett. Let them come up and play a game or two before the end of the season. See what you got. Maybe even a guy like Andre Altibarmakian, just because I want to hear Pat Foley try and say his name, or Mahe Halupa. These guys have played well at the AHL this season in a tough situation down there. I'd mention Hosea Slavin, but his NHL contract doesn't kick in the next year, so he can't play this year, even though I think he could play in the NHL right now. Let these guys come up, play a game, maybe two, give them that taste. What the heck at this point? Let's see what they can do. Put the young kids in more pressure situations, bigger expanded roles. We know what we've got from these veteran guys. Thank you for your service. Now it's time to let some of these younger kids take over those roles. And hey, if they stink in these roles, then at least going into next year, you got to fix the problem.
You've had a lot more practice than us, but man, you're really good at all those names.
I'm really glad.
It's a lot of repeating in the shower.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. Okay, Brooke, what would you do with these last 8 games?
I agree with everyone. I want to see more of the youth. I want to see all of it. But something that kind of keeps sticking out in my mind is usually when the pressure's off is when you can really let loose and have fun. And usually when you have fun, it can create good opportunities. Like you said, maybe they could be a sleeper if they start having fun here. Like, I kind of thought of Buffalo. They went through that 18-game losing streak, and then now the pressure is completely off of them, and now they've done a little bit better. Same with New York. They were kind of really bad for that bit, and now all of a sudden they're having fun and stuff. So that's what I would do. Just have fun and get back to why you guys loved playing hockey in the first place, and who knows, something positive can come from it, along with the youth.
Yep. I'm going to agree with everything. You guys took a bunch of my points. So the couple things that I'm going to add here, you know, you were already playing, let's look at defense. You're already playing Kalynuk, Stillman, and Boquist. Put Mitchell in, put Bodine in. I know Colliton had mentioned, we're not going to be playing a bunch of rookies together on defense. Let all 5 of those guys play and then throw one veteran in there with them, you know. Dahan, it looks like he's probably out. So maybe go back and forth with Murphy and Keith. I don't know. I just think giving them more responsibility would be great. Adam Godet, I don't even know if I'm saying his last name right. But you know, let's see what you got in him. Again, put Strome at center. I think somebody else already mentioned that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Colliton does any of this. But 8 more games left, so who knows? All right, let's wrap this up with some good kudos to Andrew Shaw. You know, he's such a dynamic character and such a hockey player. So I'd just like to kind of go around the table here and share anything that you'd like to say about Shaw, memories or just tidbits or whatever, to kind of just end here on a fun note. So let's go ahead and start with Brooke.
So actually, I have his jersey on for this occasion. I know you can't really see it very well, but honestly, Shaw was really the first player besides Patrick Kane on the Hawks that made me really start to fall in love with hockey. And that was back in like 2013. Just the way he played, it was just so much fun and feisty and gritty and just everything that Chicago sports really just loves and embodies. So I think it gutted me when I heard I think we all knew it was coming, but it does suck that he had to go out this way. And same with Seabrook and Crawford. But I don't know. It's hard, but you know what? I'm happy he's doing this for his health and family, but I know the team will miss him a lot. And I will really miss him a lot too, personally. But yeah, honestly, he's one of my faves. It's hard to see him go, but
it is. It's tough. It's tough. Greg, I apologize. I think I skipped you here. But go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
What do you want to say about Shaw?
I mean, if anybody who's followed me on Twitter for the last few seasons, you know I wasn't the biggest fan of the overall Andrew Shaw experience.
Right.
But I've always appreciated how he played the game. You know, he filled his role perfectly. When he was effective, he was very effective. Obviously, his teammates love him. He was a great personality. That this team needs more personality in this locker room right now. They don't really, at least, I don't know, maybe that's because it's COVID era and the team chooses who goes out there. So you really don't have that giant personality that comes out. They're going to miss that. You know, he's a good guy. Played the game hard. You could knock him for maybe being a bonehead sometimes, but you can never knock his effort, and I can appreciate that. And I don't think this is the last time we're going to see or hear from him. He's got that personality. He's going to be around. He's the type of guy like an Adam Burrish or one of these guys that can jump right into the studio role. And hey, there's going to be 2 networks looking for national analysts starting next season, so maybe he'll get a job in TV. I think he can make that work. And even when he left town, I know a lot of people were sad about that, but hey, he did good even leaving town, because one of those picks we got for the trade with Montreal turned into Alex DeBrincat. So even in his departure, he was still helping out this team. So I'm glad he's finally making this decision. I think he probably should have done it last year. But go be a dad, go be a husband, go be with your family. You had a great run, nothing to be ashamed of, and now do the same. Do the same with your family. Be a Stanley Cup winning dad, and you'll appreciate that more than anything you did on the ice.
And he gets to retire a Blackhawk. That's what's good about it too.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, Shaun, what is your Shawsy tidbit, the mutt?
Yeah. first of all, I'll agree that obviously not our decision to make, but it was refreshing to see the decision he made. Sad as hockey fans and Blackhawks fans, but it sort of was relieving even to see, through the screen of the Twitter notice, to feel that he had made that decision and feel like it was a better one for him. So I'm happy to hear he's doing that for his own sake and his own health as well. To me, Andrew Shaw has just always embodied exactly what I've always respected most about the Blackhawks, is just his passion, his drive, and his love of the game and his love of winning the game. He's shown that in every shift, in every game, and every opportunity he's had, game in and game out, night after night. That's just what he's always brought to this team, and that's been always the most fun thing to watch, and you can't help but respect that. Beyond that, not only is he gritty, but he's skillful. So that's a rare mix. You don't get that a lot in this game. And, this is a guy that's going out there and making these physical plays, but he's also capable of scoring some pretty highly real goals and playing around some pretty elite players and being right there in those plays. So this is a guy that sort of had it all. And like I said, just to surmise, he just embodied everything I love about this franchise. He loved to be out there, and he always wanted to win, and he was smiling and just enjoying every part of it.
All right, well, to wrap this up, I have to bring up some of the highlights. I mean, I can't believe you guys didn't mention these yet. I'm happy to be able to bring them up. Shin pads, the shin pads goal, the headbutt goal, and this is one that I don't know if comes to your mind as much as the most, but do you guys remember when, I don't even know when it was probably 2013, but Kane scored a goal and he's, kneeling on the ice, and Shaw goes up to him and wraps his arms around him and just gives him a big fat kiss right on his cheek. I just thought, that just embodies Shaw. And it was a tough day today to hear that. And it's funny because we all knew it was coming and we all know that it's the right decision. But thank you guys for kind of celebrating his legacy here with us tonight, and I'm sure we'll hear much more about him and hopefully see much more of him in the future. So that was a really good way to wrap up our show. Thank you again, everybody, for watching. We are Blackhawks Banter, as you know. Hockey Writers, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. HockeyWriter.com is where you can catch all of our content. We are just one of many shows that do this weekly, and our website has full coverage of the NHL. So check it all out. And I think I speak for all of us when I say thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you all next time.